I'm Larry O'Connor. Crystal Wright is in for a vacationing Brian Wilson. Hello, Crystal Wright.
Yes, I am. Hello, hello.
Let's talk Hobby Lobby, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
It's a huge blow to the Obama administration. You know, this has been an awful 10 days. You know, they were previously found to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment and privacy. Then they were found to be in violation of the separation of powers. And now they've been found to be in violation of the First Amendment and the religion clauses. I mean, you just don't want to get out of bed after a week like that.
Joining us right now to talk about yesterday's Supreme Court ruling on Hobby Lobby and really the whole Supreme Court session with a lot of important and surprising, I think, decisions is a senior legal analyst for Breitbart News and Supreme Court expert, Ken Klukowski. Ken, how are you?
Great to be with you, Larry.
It's good to have you in studio.
I am just awed by all of this technology.
the mornings on the mall.
Instead of a disembodied voice in my
ear. Yeah. So, I want to get into the specifics on Hobby Lobby, but in general, this has not been, we just heard Jonathan Turley from CNN talking about how this has been a real bad couple of days. He said you don't want to wake up and get out of bed in the morning if you're the president after all these decisions. Is it that bad?
Oh, well, if you're Barack Obama right now, it is. If you're the American people, it's a wonderful thing because the Constitution of the United States is designed to ensure the liberty of the American people. It does it both by limiting the role of government in our lives, limiting the power of government in our lives, and also by specifying all sorts of individual rights that we all hold, even in areas where government power would otherwise be legitimate. So if you care about constitutional government, if you care about a free society, this has been a wonderful time over the past 8 days.
Well, let's talk specifically about the unanimous decisions, because I think that's what was most jarring, because not only did all of the liberals, the Democratic-appointed justices on the Supreme Court defy the president's actions, but also the two that he actually appointed himself defied him. What does this tell you, not just about the Supreme Court and how they're observing the president's actions, but what does it tell you about how radical this president is?
It tells me that we are living during the time of a truly imperial president, a president who is, the founders took government power and they split it between the federal level and the state level. Then at the federal level, they broke it again into three co-equal parts, legislative, executive, and judicial. We have seen the president just trample upon Congress in terms of, you don't pass the immigration law that I want, I'll just act like it's on the books and I'll just order all of my people that this is what they're going to do.
Or in this case, ignore the laws that do exist.
Exactly right. He's doing the same thing with the EPA. He was doing the same thing with labor, and that's on the legislative end. Then on the judicial end, I will declare, well, and I guess this is really both. I will declare when the Senate's in recess that I can make recess appointments. I don't care what the Supreme Court has said about a Fourth Amendment. I say government agents can take your cell phone and search through it without a warrant. So you're talking about a president who is disregarding the Congress, disregarding the courts, just claiming whatever power it is he wants to have. And I'll tell you, there is one provision in the Constitution, the Take Care Clause. The president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. That was deliberately put into the Constitution by the framers, by the founders of our nation, to ensure that a president would carry out whatever laws were on the books, and that he would only act upon those laws which were on the books. This president has flipped that on its head, and that is the very definition of an imperial presidency, which is a threat to the liberty of all Americans, regardless of your politics.
So, given that, and given the fact that the president was given a clear message from the Supreme Court with regard, I mean, look at the recess appointment, that was a unanimous decision. The cell phones, that was a unanimous decision. Obviously, a trend leading right up to yesterday's decision on Hobby Lobby, the obvious infringement on religious freedom in America. Will this president take the message?
I really don't believe so. I think he's going to double down. I believe that the odds are becoming very lopsided that he's going to lose control of the Senate this term.
Right.
And so he's going to have, I think, a unified Congress against him. I think his poll numbers are going to be in the tank. The American people are already fed up with this president, and I think it's going to get worse. I think we're going to see the equivalent of what some people might call scorched earth policy. Just well, you know what? I'm in office for the next 2 years. If you don't have the votes to impeach and remove me, as long as I'm sitting in this Oval Office with my pen and my phone, I'll just do whatever I think is right.
Which, by the way, usually a lame duck president in that position just sort of plays out the clock and is unable to do anything. You're suggesting he'll do the opposite and try to do so much more, which should make for an interesting 2016 presidential election, too, because all of those moves that he might make will then become campaign issues.
Absolutely. I think by the time we get to November of 2016, I would expect that whoever the Democrat nominee is, if she or he wants to have any chance at winning the presidency, I think they're just going to have to openly and repeatedly throw Barack Obama under the bus and talk about how they reject what President Obama has done in what I think he's going to be doing in 2015 and 16. That is how unpopular I think it's going to be, because I think at their gut level, the American people know that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land for a reason. Even if they haven't read it, they don't know what's in it. They know it's something about limited government, and they know the president's supposed to carry out the laws, not break it.
Our guest is senior legal analyst for Breitbart News, Ken Klukowski. He's in studio with us, so that 2016 presidential election will bring the Supreme Court and these justices that are pending into the campaign. You expect that to be a campaign issue. Certainly should be.
Absolutely. Right now we have 3 conservative justices, 1 moderate conservative, that's the Chief Justice, 1 moderate, and 4 solid liberals. The reality is there's going to be probably 3 vacancies during the next presidential term, 1 moderate, 1 conservative, and 1 liberal. So if you get a president on the left or the right who appoints 3 people consistently, that consistently holds to that president's philosophy of what the Constitution is all about, we are either going to have the most conservative Supreme Court that we've had since 1936, which is the last year we had a conservative Supreme Court in this country, 80 years ago, or we are going to have literally the most liberal Supreme Court in all of American history.
President Hillary will nominate and appoint Barack Obama as a Supreme Court justice, and he'll be there for 30 years.
That would be it's.
Oh, I just ruined everybody's breakfast.
Right. Your viewers can't see just this horrified look on my face right now. That it's because if you were to put President Obama on the Supreme Court, if she could possibly make that happen, I mean, I doubt he'd stop talking the way Supreme Court justices are supposed to do. He'd be deciding cases and campaigning. I think with the very same attitude. There was a justice who did that back in the 1800 elections. He actually got impeached, and he narrowly evaded Samuel Chase. He almost got removed from the Supreme Court for it, and he was actually impeached. Ever since that, Supreme Court justices have stayed out of politics. They haven't done any campaigning and stuff like that. I think President Obama might have the same view as the Supreme Court justice that he'd have as president. He'd look at the map and say, if you don't have the votes to remove me from this office, I'll do whatever the heck I want.
That would be Justice Obama to you, Ken Klukowski, senior legal analyst for Breitbart News. Great to have you today.
Thanks
and thank
for
you
having
for that.
me.